Let's talk about these protesting college kids. Good for you. Great job exercising your First Amendment rights. Well, now I'm going to exercise mine. What are you protesting? The American political process, the Electoral College, the Constitution? No, you just didn't get your way. Get back into Starbucks and yell about your latte order getting messed up. Maybe go back to class. Start with Civics 101. Yeah, I remember when I was in college and thought I knew everything too. Look, I blame my generation. Yes, my generation, because these whiny college kids, they're our kids. They're our responsibility. You see, our baby boomer parents, they worked hard, and in many cases, they became wealthy. It took them years to accomplish that. Many of them worked so hard, they forgot they had kids that needed discipline, so discipline began to fade away. My generation, their kids, Generation X, came along, and we were spoiled rotten. We got stuff instead of quality time. We got our way. We got out of college thinking the world owed us something. Immediately, we thought we deserved to be successful right now and on par with the 30-year accomplishments of our parents, and we weren't, and we became disillusioned. Then we had millennial babies. Oh, they'd never know failure. We wouldn't allow it. These wondrous miracles that could do no wrong. They deserved the best in comfort, luxury, and gaming systems. They needed the fastest internet and constant praise and a trophy for everything they sucked at. The latest and greatest for my babies. They didn't just want it, they deserved it. This generation even wants emotional things. We need to feel right about our world, and if it doesn't make me emotionally satisfied, there must be something wrong with it. So now we've got our coddled protesters curled up in their college cry zones. How can I be expected to take a test when I really don't feel good about reality? I'm sorry your daddy called you princess, baby, because you're not one. Daddy lied. What do you expect from kids that grew up warping their brains watching the Wiggles? Fruit salad. Listen, Pumpkin Spice, going to class is a privilege, not a right. Your education, while not really preparing you for a lot of what's headed your way in life, isn't free. And I'm guessing mommy and daddy pays the bills. So here's an idea. Why don't you just quit school, go get a job and some health insurance and live happily ever after? That's right. The folks you're protesting for have made those things virtually impossible, and you have no marketable skills. So get back to class, Snowflake, while the rest of us fix this. Now, kids, for our next class, we're going to teach you how you can't call a person that married a foreigner a xenophobe. Love y'all. God bless. Here's a Facebook poke when what you really need is a spanking.
Greg, how's it going?
Doing well. How's it going over there?
Awesome, man. Sunshine as usual. You know, it's an everyday occurrence where I live.
It must be nice.
Love this guy, Chad Prather, man.
He
been
rocks.
Complimented on his wit, his southern charm, and even his pearly white teeth. And Mary King, another comedian kind of guy, says, "Dude, I would pay thousands of dollars to have teeth like yours. I know that you're very bright, witty, and articulate, but I watch your videos to enjoy your teeth. #jelly." And now, joining us from the interior of his pickup truck, we're pleased to have the fast-talking, cowboy hat-wearing, internet sensation, Chad Prather. How's it going, Mr. Prather?
What's up, guys? How are you today?
Fantastic.
I am in Rapid City, South Dakota. It is snowing very, very hard. I left Fort Worth, Texas this morning. It was 80 degrees. I was wearing shorts and flip-flops, and now it's 28 degrees in South Dakota.
Let freedom ring.
Yeah.
Whew. I don't like the cold. Hopefully you pack some boots.
I don't either, especially being from the great state of California with all the sunshine and the pink ponies, right?
Yeah, you got a few of those down there.
So, man, we are super happy to have you with us, man, from Texas. I mean, talk about the great state of Texas, conservative guns. You're true to your religion and you're outspoken, and we are just super happy to have you here, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. A couple of weeks ago, I was at the Texas Firearms Festival, and there were a lot of former military guys that now started some businesses and, making guns and making apparel as well as making gear and things like that. And they had all of those vendor booths out there. And all around that park, there were people trying out guns, trying out scopes, trying out suppressors. And I thought, man, you can't get any more Texas than this. This is America right here. There were Gatling guns and 50 cals and all these things. And I thought, man, this is you only find this here. You don't find that in Southern California readily.
That's very true.
In New York City.
Now, I have seen some friends buy some AR-15s right out of San Diego at trade shows, squeaking them out of there regardless of what we've heard. But, the beginning of the year is coming. The communism is upon us. It is almost here. You know what I'm saying? I completely agree with you, man, on that. And, lower receivers, creating your lower receivers, buying the gun yourself, putting them together. I mean, that's the way to go right there.
That's the way to go, and I won't get into how many guns I have or how many I have that nobody knows about, but I'll just tell you this: America. I'll tell you, the thing about it, I grew up in Augusta, Georgia, and I can remember being 2-3 years old, hardly able to walk, and my grandfather would take me out back in a field, and we'd fire a .22 rifle. He'd help me hold it up to my shoulder and teach me about guns and how to clean guns and rifles, shotguns, handguns, all of these things. And so there's still these life lessons that I have from my childhood that I still use today, 43, 44 years old. And it's something about the South. There's something about growing up in a gun culture. Nowadays, it's not necessarily in the South, but growing up in a gun culture, it really is a culture. Folks we don't live scared of guns. And I've got closets full and drawers full of guns and trucks full of guns. None of them have ever attacked me. And, they've never come after me or anything like that. So, yeah, man, down there in Texas, we love our guns. We've got we got whole TV shows dedicated to it.
Sounds pretty good.
I'm jealous.
Right?
Guns in California are for protection. They might invade the fence line. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I love guns too. Coming from the Marine Corps, I'm all about that stuff. That's a lifetime for me.
Yeah, and with my Marine friends, they've always been good to teach me. This is my rifle and this is my gun.
Yeah.
There you go.
This is for shooting.
And this is for fun.
This is for fun. So, yeah.
That's right. That's the mantra, man.
Right.
We love that stuff.
Yeah.
What about you, Greg? How many guns you looking at over there where you live, man? They're all over the place, aren't they?
Oh, yes. And just like in Texas, we value our guns, and from the very early age, we're taught to respect them and to handle them well. And I think, you were talking about earlier, you don't know what it is about the South, and I think that's part of it, is that early independence. You learn how to take care of yourself. You learn to do what you have to do. You're not coddled, plain and simple.
Well, okay, so you take the South, for instance. The South, historically, was an agrarian society. It was all agriculture. People grew their own crops. They fed their families. They fed their neighbors. They sold to their neighbors. They traded. They were farmers, and they were very self-sufficient. They hunted for meat. They fished. They trapped. They did whatever they had to do. They mended. They sewed. They did all of these things. They picked the cotton. They created the clothing. And, the South was very independent. And they still hold on to so many of those strong independent roots and their ability to defend themselves, take care of themselves. We've heard it for our whole lives. The South's going to do it again, or the South's going to rise again. Well, the South actually has already risen. I mean, all of the industry is now in the South. The economy, so much of it is driven by industry in the South. And so, the North, to get into that history lesson, the North won the Civil War because the industry was in the North.
Yep. Had
that industry been in the South, it would have been a whole different deal. When I was a kid, my mother's an antique dealer, and when I was a kid, she had a bowl full of bullets that were found in an old Civil War battleground. And the bullets that came from the Union Army were they were big, and the Southern bullets were really small because they had to make them that way. They didn't have the materials to make bigger bullets, and that was one of the reasons. When you got shot with a rifle from the North, it put a bigger hole in you. It killed you. You weren't walking away from that so quickly. But the industry was in the North. And I think that Southern independence, that Southern sufficiency, self-sufficiency still remains to this day. And, by and large, that has spread all over the country, and people are, to make a point, are tired of having anybody in their business. We don't want you messing with our Second Amendment rights, and we don't want you coming in here, telling us what we can and cannot do. If we want to worship in our fashion, in our manner, we want to worship that way, and we don't want the government telling us what we can and can't do. We want prayer in schools. We want the 10 Commandments in front of the courthouse. So it's these, now you got all these folks with civil liberties that, are opposed to that have come along, and those folks are still a minority. Unfortunately, are the voices that get heard the most and wind up with legislation that infringe on the rest of us.
Sure.
There's a huge misconception about the Civil War and a lot of the other issues besides slavery. A lot of people, especially out here where I live, they think everything's about slavery. They don't understand how the South was getting crushed by the North as far as businesses making money. People don't understand that stuff. There's that book that's written about what you just said, The South Was Right. There's a real good book on that describes a whole bunch of those issues. And it is probably something that should come out a lot more about all the issues of the Civil War, not just slavery like they think.
Right.
Much more than that.
Well, okay, so let's take a sample of culture of what we've got today. So does racism exist? Yes, it does. Does it exist on a large scale in the white community? No, it doesn't. It is really the minority of whites that are considered truly racist. Are there cultural differences? Of course there are, and that's going to be true regardless of the pigmentation of your skin color. And those cultural differences may cause a little bit of separation, but that is not racism. So let's take that and apply it back to the South, Civil War South, antebellum South, and say to try to say every white person today is racist is wrong. To say that everything about the South in the Civil War was about slavery is equally wrong. That was not the deal. Was it an issue? Absolutely. Was it a tragedy? Absolutely. It needed to be dealt with. It needed to go away. But it took a war in order to do that. But so much of that war was caused because of states' rights. And the South was losing their rights. They were being oppressed. They were being persecuted. And, I don't go back to that and say we need to fight it again or the South even should have won it. I think history was divinely orchestrated in such a way that the best things happened in light of it. But to villainize and even demonize the South throughout those years, I think is false and really it's a misjudgment of history.